The ding. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Hot Hardware's 2.5 Geeks. I'm Dave Altavilla for Hot Hardware, and I am joined here with the illustrious Paul Lilly and Marco Chiappetta. Good afternoon, fellas. It is Monday, February 15th. How was your Valentine's Day?
Oh, mine was fantastic. I spent it waiting at the airport for my wife to come home from a trip, and she was 3 hours delayed. And it was brick cold out here in New York and Connecticut, which it continued into today. I am freezing right now. Just got out of a nice cold shower because my hot water in the house couldn't keep up. So I am awake and ready for this freaking podcast.
Nice. Did you do when she got off the plane, did you do the run to her, she ran to your arms and you scooped her up and it was all like hearts and kisses and stuff?
No, it was at the airport. It was more like don't murder people as you elbow your way to the car.
Nice.
How long have you been married, Marco?
It's going to be 11 years in May.
Yeah, so they're well beyond that. They're the type that's like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm lucky she doesn't shank me at this point.
Hey, how you doing? Don't murder anybody. Yeah. That's a bonus. Paul, how was your big V-Day, brother?
It was fun. We went to the casino and lost some money, of course. Came back, watched the NBA All-Star festivities. So stuff that I like to do. So it worked out well.
What casino do you go to out there?
There's a few that are nearby. A couple of Indian reservation casinos. Firekeepers is the one. If anyone is in the area that I like the best, it's in Battle Creek.
Gotcha. Yeah, we have Mohegan Sun and Foxwoods out here, and let's just say those places are really nice, and they don't build the Taj Mahal like that on the winters, you know. But yeah, no, we didn't do a whole heck of a lot either. The weather out here is just nuts. We all winter we had this 40 to 50 degree range, which for New England is like unheard of. It's stupid balmy for this time of year, and now all of a sudden we suddenly had winter kick in, and I mean it was like in the single digits the other day, or like last night. So yeah, we hunkered down too. We got some sushi takeout, and that was the extent of the romantic evening. It what are you gonna do? Make the best of it, right? So let's talk tech instead of romance and not murdering people at the airport. Let's talk about a few things we got going on. Some of the headlines in the news, and also the reviews. Marco actually took a look at a new solid-state drive product from the folks at OCZ. He's holding it up there, looking all colorful. The folks at OCZ, now a division of Toshiba, right?
Yes, absolutely. This is the OCZ Trion 150, but before I talk about it, for some reason, chat is still disabled on the live YouTube window, even though we went through every single freaking setting and enabled it. So if you're watching and you would like to comment live, I will monitor comments on the Facebook post that we made a few hours ago about today's podcast. So I have that open, and I'll keep looking. If you post a question there or comment there, I'll try to address it on air. I'm monitoring that live.
Can they maybe tweet us too?
Yeah, that's too much for me to watch. So just stick to the Facebook post. But all right, back to the OCZ Trion 150. So last year in, I think it was July, OCZ launched the Trion 100 series, and what made that drive special was it was the first drive from OCZ to feature TLC NAND. It used 19 nanometer Toshiba TLC NAND cache memory. NAND flash memory, and it also had a Toshiba controller. So it was basically Toshiba through and through, top to bottom. The Trion 100 was, an entry-level, affordable SATA SSD, and it offered good performance, strong performance, especially in reads. Writes didn't quite max out, the speed of the SATA connector, but good drive for the money. Now, the Trion 150 is an update to that drive, so same controller, but it's using newer 15 nanometer Toshiba NAND flash memory, plus an updated firmware to boost not only write performance, but tests showed somewhat better performance with small file transfers as well. So I got to look at a 480 gig model and a 960 gig model, and performance across the board was strong considering the price. It did not lead the pack in any one particular category, but in reads you're basically hitting the SATA ceiling, 550 megs plus in some tests. writes in some tests are up to 50% improved over the Trion 100. But what's probably most interesting to most people, like right now, NVMe drives are definitely the rage, super fast, multi-gig per second transfers. So this is a SATA drive, and you're limited by the connector. But the 960 gig drive is only $269. Basically, all of the drives from 240 gig on up to 960 are about 28 cents a gigabyte, and these just came out, so you know that will eventually drop. So you're looking at really affordable, fast storage, really good option if you're looking to upgrade a hard drive in, say, a notebook or a system right now that doesn't have, you know, an M.2 slot. So really, really nice drive for the money from OCZ here.
Yeah. What's the warranty on these guys?
So that's one of the other cool things with OCZ right now. This particular drive has, and let me get the wording correctly. It has an OCZ Shield Plus warranty. So it's basically a 3-year warranty on the drive, but with advanced replacement should anything go wrong. All you have to do is provide OCZ with your serial number. You don't even have to show proof of purchase. It's like a worry-free warranty. Show them your serial number, and you know, should the drive be defective, boom, they just send you another drive. Like no wait, they'll even do cross shipments, stuff like that. So the warranty is really customer friendly. Hopefully you never have to use it, but it has one of those really customer friendly warranties.
Yeah, yeah. You know, what's interesting is, you know, OCZ's a brand with a fair amount of history, and some of it, you know, frankly, not so good. They got a reputation a little ways back, or at least people seem to remember, right? They don't remember, folks, you can't guarantee that folks always remember the good stuff that happens, but they'll definitely remember the bad stuff that happens, right? And so they got a little bit of a bad rap, you know, years and years ago, especially in the early advent of SSDs, with drives failing and things like that. And you know, our view, you know, we've worked with them for many years, since the beginning, was that, you know, they were certainly cutting their teeth, and you know, when you're an aggressive, you know, smaller player like that, competing against the big guys, you gotta do some things in terms of qualifying multiple vendors and keeping track of the process for qualification and quality as it relates to multiple different flash vendors and things like that. It's a lot stickier, but the thing to remember now, and I guess, you know, certainly the drives prove themselves out over life reports as the years go by, and their quality certainly, you know, even before they were acquired by Toshiba had come up significantly. But I think that the thing to remember now is that these folks are a wholly owned division of Toshiba now, and the NAND bucket, as it will, is channeled into one supplier, Toshiba NAND Flash, and that gives them a strategic advantage from a cost standpoint, obviously, but it also helps immensely in terms of quality, and you know, where they perhaps needed more resources in that regard, you know, whether it be just QA and general, you know, quality of NAND and the pipeline, if you will, they've dramatically improved, I think, just in process and whatnot in that division. Wouldn't you say?
Well, some of that too, wasn't that due to the early SandForce controllers? Because I know it wasn't just OCZ that had trouble in the beginning with some of their drives.
Right.
I've had people tell me, "Oh, I'll never buy a Mushkin SSD again," you know, for the same reason that you're saying. So it wasn't just them. I think OCZ is a little more memorable because they kind of flooded the market more than the other companies have.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think OCZ also was fairly aggressive in the early days, like using everybody's controller. There was drives from basically every controller, tons of different NAND, and now it's just really more laser focused, obviously, and having such, you know, deep integration and being connected with Toshiba now, it basically ensures OCZ is making the best drives based on Toshiba tech. So
yeah. No, you're right. That's kind of what I was getting at. Is you get a lot fewer variables in supply now, whether it be controller or flash.
We're seeing that in the price too, because remember, one of the reasons they struggled there towards the end when they were on their own was the fluctuating price of NAND chips. I mean, it was all over the place. Now that they have Toshiba supplying the chips, you know, a lot more stable on the pricing front. And then you have, how much did you say that 960 gigabyte drive was?
It's only 269 street price right now.
Yeah,
So it's
269.
28 gig.
That's crazy for almost 1 terabyte, and for those speeds, it was not that long ago, that was top of the line. You're maximizing the SATA bus there, so it's pretty neat.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess the moral of the story is if whatever you had in the back of your mind on OCZ from years gone by, and certainly as you noted, Paul, many of the SSD manufacturers early on took their lumps. That you should probably erase that and give these guys a shot if you haven't considered it, because they're making some real quality stuff these days with Toshiba, all Toshiba technology, and at some pretty great prices. So. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the next. Didn't they had a PCI Express NVMe SSD out in Vegas, pushing over 2.6 gigs a second. I'm forgetting what the name of that was now. Do you remember that, Marco?
Revo Drive 400.
Revo 400?
The Revo Drive 400, yeah.
Yeah. Good for you. I was cramping.
Hey, Marco.
Yeah, so we're getting ready to queue up that sucker on the bench one of these days soon, and that'll be fun.
Let me ask Marco a question.
What's that?
It's on Marco. You've tested a bunch of the NVM drives, right, or a few of them at least.
Yeah.
What would you say would be the benefit to skipping, an affordable drive like this and stepping up to a more performance-based drive? I mean, who would benefit the most from doing that?
I mean, there's a couple of benefits. I mean, any user that pays attention to the performance of their PC would definitely appreciate an NVMe SSD, but there's some other benefits too. They're these tiny little gum sticks, and the slots are right down on the motherboards for the most part. They're not. Some of them are in PCI slots, but in terms of cleanliness in a modded rig, just slap the stick into the motherboard, and you have no cables, no power cables, no data cables. It's just cleaner that way. You obviously have much faster file transfer. So anybody that works with big files, video editors, even if you just do lots of transferring between drives, if you like to, I don't know, you're moving movies from one drive to another, whatever. Just transfers in general are faster. And the PC snappiness isn't vastly improved because access times are so low with all SSDs now, but NVMe can queue commands differently than SATA, so it is an overall snappier, faster experience, even though it might be minor with some of the day-to-day computing stuff. But I mean, there's benefits across the board. There's form factor benefits, cleanliness benefits, performance benefits. Pricing is getting closer to SATA pricing in a cost per gigabyte, scenario. So there's lots of benefits, but lots of folks have a Windows 7 era class system, might not have an M.2 slot, don't want to throw a PCI Express card in, or maybe it's a small form factor rig or a notebook and don't even have the slot for an NVMe type of solution. Whereas you can replace a 2.5-inch drive with something like this and still get a huge performance boost.
Yeah. I'd agree, and that's what I was going to comment on was the sequential transfers with NVMe, PCI Express NVMe. If you can justify the cost, and it's got to be at least 2x. I mean, these are 30 cents a gig at their best SATA drives. 28 cents, I think, was the 960 gig pricing, right? 28 cents a gig.
Yeah.
For the terabyte drive. So yeah, I mean, if you can justify the cost and have the accommodations for it, sequential file transfers, especially working with heavy workloads, lots of multitasking, where you've got a higher I/O queue depth, NVMe, PCI Express NVMe is gonna smoke a SATA drive. But versus a standard spinning media, SATA still kicks butt. And in the average notebook, let's say you've got a year or two old notebook, you want to upgrade. That kind of thing, fantastic for that, and just in general, mainstream desktop PCs, it's still a very viable format. I don't think we're going to see that going away anytime soon.
So hey, before we continue, I don't know if you can check this while we're live, Dave, but someone commented on the Facebook post. One of our readers named Nathan said if you disable live chat in the stream, it'll enable comments.
Disable live chat in the stream.
Yeah. Select the gear icon and uncheck the Enable Live Chat box. Using events.
I love this. I'm selecting.
I don't know if we can do it live. I don't want to mess up the stream, but.
Hang on a second. Control room. No, that's not it. Well, I went to the gear icon on me, but I'm just getting my stuff.
All right, we'll save it
I
for
don't see anything about live chat.
The Facebook thing is working. Thank you, Nathan. You're the man. We will look into that for the next one. We don't want to kill this one while we're live.
Yeah, exactly. Let's well, hang on. Oh, there's the cameraman app. Yeah, I'm gonna leave this alone for now. But we'll look at this for the next one before I knock us off air, and that would suck the most. So let's move on. Let's move on to something in the mobile space. Our buddy Josh Gulick took a look at Dell's Precision 15 5510 mobile workstation, and this is actually Dell's commercial class, if you will, version of the XPS 15. It is a 15-inch notebook. I'm going to share it out right now, and so yeah, present to everybody. There we go. This fella is, if you've ever seen the XPS 15, this, I'm going to try and get this back on screen a little bit better. This is essentially the XPS 15 on workstation steroids. So as you can see here, you've got your delicious carbon fiber palm rest area, that really nice big trackpad, and of course Dell's Infinity Edge display. And so that 15-inch, we looked at a 4K Ultra HD display, 3840 by 2160 res, excuse me, display, IPS IGZO panel, actually. I take that back. And but basically, mechanically set up exactly like the XPS 15. However, the Precision 15 has an onboard Intel Xeon E3 1505M mobile Xeon processor, and NVIDIA's Quadro, specifically a Quadro M1000M graphics processor with 2 gig of GDDR5. So it's the hook here is it's set up like a mobile workstation class components in it. Also a 512 gig M2 PCI Express NVMe SSD on board. This was the loadout that we tested. Actually, you can get it configured, a number of different ways. You can certainly get a lower price point option. We've got sort of the top end configuration. It has an 84 watt hour battery and clocks in at just under 4 pounds. So a 15-inch machine, carbon fiber, machined aluminum. That Infinity Edge, beautiful Infinity Edge display, 16 gig of RAM, actually DDR4, not GDDR4, DDR4 RAM on board. So decked out to the hilt and set up for workstation types, for folks that need mission critical performance, if you will, with things like Xeons and Quadros. Now the difference here is, obviously it's a significantly more expensive build, $2,600 as we tested, but there's some specific advantages for workstation types for folks that have workloads that are a little bit heavier duty. Certainly things like video rendering and other sort of CAD, computer-aided design type workloads, whether you're in Maya, CATIA, Pro-E, any of these different CAD tools that folks work with to either design content or design product, computer-aided design of mechanical engineering and things like that. But the Xeon's an interesting chip. The Xeon E3 1505, actually a 2.8 gigahertz base clock, turbos up to 3.7 gigahertz. So versus the Dell's XPS 15's standard Core i7 6700HQ, tops out at 3.5 gigahertz. So 3.7 gigahertz turbo, a little bit faster clock speed. It also has 8 meg of cache, so you've got a larger L2 cache component, and it supports ECC memory, which on this machine, interestingly enough, as a reader pointed out, is not supported. It's non-ECC. It's DDR4, non-ECC DDR4 RAM that's on it. 16 gig of 2133 megahertz DDR4. So a little bit of a disconnect there. We've actually got a question out to the folks at Dell as to why you can't enjoy the benefits of full ECC memory with parity, error checking, and all that good stuff. It just really would amount to, at least theoretically, potentially more reliable performance, less apt to crash. Certainly in heavy data-intensive workloads, database crunching, anything where there's lots of math going on. where errors can happen, rounding errors, what have you. And so that's a little bit of a disconnect there that we're looking into. But otherwise, this machine tore it up and looked good doing it. It's definitely something for the enterprise class customer, but an impressive build. That Xeon makes a difference in the benchmarks. It was one of the fastest 15-inch notebooks we've tested. We actually put it through spec ViewPerf, and it clocked in some of the best numbers we saw there. I'll actually share this out. And there we go. So, here we've got it versus the Lenovo ThinkPad W500 series, the 550S to be exact. And that's the gray bar in the middle. The Precision M3800 is the blue bar on the bottom. That's Dell's, last generation, I guess, Precision M3800, although they do have new SKUs of that coming out, I believe, as well. But as you can see, the yellow bar on top, really excelled in this workstation class benchmark, spec ViewPerf, excuse me. So good stuff. You have to want that horsepower, and it definitely did, on the flip side, chew into battery life as a result as well. So if battery life is a concern, an XPS 15, if you're sort of straddling that line between a heavy-duty enterprise class user versus workstation, maybe an XPS 15 might be a better bet. But what do you guys think about this? I mean, it's interesting. We talk about how NVIDIA GPUs, whether they be Quadros versus GeForces, really the difference there is application certifications and being certified with compatible with Pro Engineer and CATIA and Maya and all these different high-end workstation apps for content and product creators, developers. What do you guys think about the value proposition of a workstation class notebook like this?
Well, I mean, if you're a pro and you need the validation on those apps, the value is through the roof. For Joe Sixpack that wants a notebook, the value proposition is very different. But if you need that certification and that Quadro GPU, it's awesome to get it in this super sleek form factor with the nice Dell setup. Everything from that Infinity Edge display to the materials used to build it is just, it's awesome for this type of machine. So I could totally see pros definitely digging this rig. Now, before we move on just quickly, we have a bunch of people watching. If you want to comment on our Facebook post. We have a few comments going there. By the way, Nathan that commented earlier was Black Hawk, who won a gaming rig a while back. Thank you, sir. So, yeah, I think that this particular machine is really nice, and if you don't need, you can get desktop replacements with more powerful processors and GPUs in them, but if you want that form factor and you run the apps that will run well on this, I think it was a Quadro 1100 series GPU, that quad-core Skylike's more than likely enough for you as well. So I think it's a really nice machine.
Yeah. Paul, what are your thoughts, buddy?
I think it's interesting, the performance bump from the Dell's Precision M3800. I was looking at the comparison chart there that you had posted a little bit ago, because that machine's not that old. I think we just reviewed that last year. That had it didn't have a Xeon processor in it, but I know it had a Quadro GPU, and this thing blows that out of the water for I think it's about a $300 difference. So it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and what's interesting there as well, I mean, I'm gonna share out another benchmark here. That Xeon processor, certainly Quadro Maxwell, the NVIDIA GPU that's on board, the Quadro GPU is a Maxwell variant. That certainly helps performance in things like ViewPerf, where you're graphically intensive. But here we're showing FutureMark PCMark 8, and this is more sort of business class applications, trace-based test. It does things like video chat and stuff like that. Believe it or not, Dell's got a little driver issue, we think anyways. We've been sort of kicking it back and forth with them. You can see the yellow bar on top here is actually the PCMark 8 storage benchmark, and they're actually a notch behind some of these other machines, some of which are using standard SATA SSDs, believe it or not. And this is again a 512 gig PCI Express NVMe SSD in this machine. But we found it's actually, we believe it to be an NVMe driver issue that Dell is working with right now, and we think it's potentially just the generic Windows driver that they're basing their driver on. So there might be some driver optimization here. That number is, we've seen in other tests, this is sort of an outlier in PC Market. We've seen in other tests that their drives, NVMe PCI Express SSDs, are just fine. They actually kick some serious butt. But if you look at the other bars here, the blue and the green bar, where you've got our home accelerated and work accelerated test scores, you can see this machine is significantly ahead, and these are more CPU intensive and IO intensive tests here. The home and work accelerated tests significantly ahead, especially in the on the green bar, the home accelerated tests. So that, I believe, is attributable a lot as well to that Xeon processor. Now you've got 8 meg of onboard cache, shared cache now, versus 6 megs for the standard chip, the standard consumer chip, the Core i7 chip. And so there are applications, there's places where Xeons can offer a strategic advantage, and really it's going to be in applications where you have workstation class or workstation-like workloads. So interesting stuff, and good to see Dell fleshing out that design signature across other product lines, because that thing obviously is winning all kinds of awards for them, and certainly we've given them more than a couple of accolades on that. That XPS 15, the XPS 13, that all share that carbon fiber and Infinity Edge display. Beautiful stuff. Let's move on to, what are we going to talk about next? Oh, we've got Marco's looking at something mini and Braswell and kind of cool, right?
Yes, it's very cool. So before we talk about it, I'm going to pull out the compute stick again for a second. Now, we talked about this, it was either last podcast or 2 podcasts ago. This is Intel's latest compute stick. It's got an Atom processor in there, 2 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of storage. If I say those specs and ask you guys, what would you change about the compute stick? What would you say?
Say, what are the specs again?
So it's 2 gigs of RAM, an Atom processor, and 32 gigs of storage.
4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage. Maybe 128.
See, there you go. Now I'm going to pull out this really cool mini PC. This is the Minix, M-I-N-I-X NGC-1. So this just came out. It was actually just announced like a week ago. I'm so close to the review. I shifted gears to get that OCZ review done quickly, but this review is in flight. Now, this is based on Intel's Braswell architecture. It's still an Atom class processor, but the quad-core Celeron N3150 is in here, but with 4 gigs of RAM, a 128 gig M.2 SSD, plus, I mean, obviously it's bigger. It's about, it's the size of 3 compute sticks plus these antennas, and it's a little taller. So it's not something you just stuff behind your TV, but a little tiny, tiny all-in-one PC. You have multiple USB ports on the front. You have a DisplayPort, HDMI, SPDIF, wired networking as well, plus fast 802.11 AC wireless in here. Now, this guy, it's only $399, so it's not quite as expensive as fleshing out a NUC PC with memory storage and an OS, but it's obviously much more expensive than a compute stick. But you get those upgrades. Now, part of that additional price is Windows. Microsoft charges more for the Windows license when you get to this 4 gig, 128 gig mark, so that adds significant cost. But those minor kind of niggles with the compute stick are gone, and you'll see testing when the review goes live. I'm going to try to have it live tomorrow, maybe Wednesday at the latest. Some of those kind of niggles, watching 4K video, are gone. Streaming, the Steam streaming is a little better. All around performance a little better. The processor's not that much faster, but that extra memory and the faster storage make a difference. And then you have the convenience of all the extra ports and the better Wi-Fi. So I really dig this little box. It's really cool, and the build quality is awesome. I mean, it reminds me, I hate to always compare stuff to Apple, but of one of the early Mac Minis, like the nice metal enclosure, just real top-notch build quality here. So if you're looking for an affordable decent home theater PC or a streaming PC, this may be an option for you. So come by the site and make sure you check out the full review as soon as I have it up.
Cool. Cool, yeah, no, AC Wi-Fi, dual band AC Wi-Fi on there. It's funny. You see that little box and then those two rabbit ears sticking out the back of it.
Yeah. That's kind of a drawback, these big antennas, but it gets you better wireless performance at a longer distance. So, it's a trade-off. You could always, if you have it flat, just fold them down, and if it's behind, or next to a DVD player or a Blu-ray player, I should say, you'll only see one.
Yeah, I personally don't look at that as a drawback. I kind of thought the design was cool looking. Do they have any? They must have a VESA mount that you can clip that sucker on the back of a display, right?
It does not come with one. I don't think so. But I mean, nothing a little Velcro wouldn't fix. The thing weighs nothing.
That's really cool. And is it? You said it was fanless?
Yes, it's fanless, completely silent, passively cooled, just really just nice all around. If you take the compute stick and you just upgrade it a little bit, you end up with something like this. It's nice. Windows 10 64-bit install, not 32-bit, so that's another plus. There'll also be an Ubuntu version with Linux, should you not be a Windows guy. But lots of those little drawbacks of the compute stick are addressed here without having to go, with a full-blown NUC. So it's kind of a tweener product, but a nice tweener product.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Paul, are you rocking any of these streamers at home? These little mini PCs a streamer?
No, I have my Xbox for that. But what I think is interesting about these little PCs is not just for the streaming duties, but just general purpose computing. Like if my parents need a new PC and all they're doing is farting around the internet and typing up a Word document here and there, I think these are compelling versus trying to sell them on another desktop rig.
Right.
Yeah. So Amanda wants me to give this little PC away, but Amanda, you already won a PC from us, so you can't have this little PC. But stay tuned.
Amanda's watching.
Stay tuned till the end. We're close to announcing another giveaway, and we'll save that for a few more minutes from now.
It's good to have some regulars in our midst. Amanda, good to know you're around lurking. We will figure out by hook or by crook on the next podcast, next webcast, we will find out what the heck's going on with YouTube, because we have the settings right, but you can't live chat for some reason. So we'll figure that one out.
So just reminder, comment on the Facebook post if you want us to talk live here. So we have multiple people watching and multiple people commenting, but you got to go to our Facebook post on today's podcast for us to see it.
Yeah. YouTube, fix your stuff, and we won't send people to Facebook. Come on now. So, anyways, let's move on. Let's talk about more small things powered by Atom. Actually, interestingly enough, ASUS's ZenFone 2 laser. We're actually working on the ZenFone Zoom, which is their camera targeted model. It's got a pretty badass camera on board. But this is the ZenFone 2 laser we took a look at just last week. Let me share it out to everybody. Okay, so there it is there. Straight up Android setup, 64-bit. Actually, I take that back. It is not powered by Intel. They changed the SKU on this one.
Yep.
What's that?
Yeah, no, yep, that one's not Atom. That one's
Yeah. The other ZenFone, the ZenFone 2 was an Atom-powered one, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the ZenFone 2 laser is not. It's Qualcomm Snapdragon 615, Adreno 405 graphics, 3 gig of RAM, 16 or 32 gigs of onboard storage, 802.11n Wi-Fi. It could be a little bit better there with the AC, but for $199 for the 16 gig variant and $249 for the 32 gig variant, very cost-effective. As you can see, also user serviceable battery, and let me see what we have for a put up on the battery. I think it's 3,000 milliamp hour battery, and a 5.5-inch IPS display, 1080p IPS display. So really nice little phone. What's interesting about this is ASUS is coming out with some really nice inexpensive handsets these days, and performance-wise, it's not gonna. Let's just show that out a little bit. It's not going to, kill anybody in terms of performance. It's sort of middle of the pack in some of these tests. Here's a Geekbench 3 test. It's sort of down in the lower quadrant, actually. and in some cases, especially as it relates to graphics, down there at the bottom. But Jen took a look at this. Jen Johnson for us. She found very serviceable performance. A solid camera, good build quality, nice display. For $199 now, and that's off contract, unlocked. Drop any SIM you want into it. So pretty cool stuff from the folks at ASUS. We are looking at their ZenFone Zoom shortly. That I believe is powered by an Atom chip, Intel Atom chip, and we'll be looking at that. But if you're considering just trying to find a handset out there these days off contract, and unlocked. ASUS has got some pretty good stuff, and the ZenFone 2 laser hinting towards autofocus. Let's just take a look at what Jen thought about the camera. She was actually praising the camera. It's got actually a really nice manual mode on the camera as well, so you can dial in. I'll show you some of the shots that Jen took of her stuff around her area. So, real nice macro performance. Let's see if we can get that on screen. It's going to be kind of hard to see on video, but, some pretty sharp macro performance, and just generally an all-around, well-rounded smartphone, Android smartphone for not a lot of jack. The folks at ASUS. Have you taken a look at any of the ASUS devices, Marco, in hand lately? The ZenFone Zoom's an interesting one. We'll have to talk about that on the next podcast.
Yeah, I still have the original ZenFone 2 here, which was, for the money, fantastic phone. An unlocked phone under $200. Now, just a quick question on this, because I'm not sure of the answer. Nathan's asking, do we know if these are going to get Marshmallow support, or has ASUS not mentioned anything yet?
ASUS is pretty good about that. This one has, let's see, what came with her setup. I thought
it's 5.0.
5.0. Okay. ASUS has been pretty good about rolling out updates. We don't know specifically on that, though. I mean, I don't have an answer for you there, to be honest. But they typically, you're talking about a manufacturer that knows firmware updates like the back of their hand, updating motherboards and whatnot on a regular basis, and they're very good about that. But we'll have to ask that question, Nathan. Good question. This is Android 5. Marshmallow, you would think, should be close behind.
I would think it's coming too. I'm just not sure.
Yeah. ASUS actually has I just looked up on their forum a post of devices that are getting the Marshmallow upgrade, and that's one. The Zen 2 is one of them.
Beautiful.
We'll get it
Thank you, sir.
point.
There you go, Paul. See, Paul, he's looking out for you.
See, Paul used Google. Awesome.
So good stuff. I mean, honestly, it's like we said, it's not going to be, a benchmark burner. So if you're looking to play games, this probably isn't your phone. If you're a big gamer, it's going to certainly handle some light duty gaming. Adreno 405 graphics. It's no slouch, but it's not the fastest in the world. It is going to feel responsive though. You've got a 3 gig of RAM setup here, running a standard 1080p resolution display, so lots of extra memory for buffering, surfing the web and all that good stuff. Should be smooth as butter, and a nice camera with laser autofocus. So check that out. Stop by the site. You can check out the full review, and let's move on to the news. I just froze there for a minute because this one's kind of like pulling the pin and tossing the grenade in the room and see what happens.
Marco, are you still rocking a Windows phone?
I am still rocking. Still the Lumia 1520.
Yeah. Do you talk dirty to Cortana?
I don't, but there's been times where I thought about it. I'm lonely here. It's cold. You have there. You never know.
She's kind of cute for an artificial AI.
For the good of our readers.
We gotta be careful because guys, you might piss her off. That's the headline. We actually had a story that came up just over the weekend, believe it or not, or last weekend, I should say. Microsoft's Cortana won't put up with sexual harassment. She ain't that. So, interesting story. Basically, the folks in Redmond are specifically programming Cortana to diffuse, if you will, inappropriate remarks, abusive behavior, abusive commentary, and rather than just ignoring it and giving you a vanilla sort of, oh, I don't understand, or something, totally neutral and robotic, if you will, they're actually programmed her, and Cortana, obviously the AI, the being from Halo, she is female, so we can call her a she. She's been programmed to get a little curt, to not to let you know she's not appreciating either your humor, your crudeness, or your sexual innuendo or whatever. And it's an interesting piece because it spurred a ton of discussion, and I wanted to get what your thoughts were on this, guys. It said what was the quote? She handles it with tact so as to reduce the chance of further abuse. Interestingly, some AI assistants out there do cater to this sort of thing. CEO of Robin Labs, Eckstein, claims there is high demand for AI assistants that are more intimate / submissive with sexual undertones, which is just like, wow, okay. But Cortana's programmed to handle things with tact and to try and address it, if you will, which is surprising to some. There was a lot of banter about this. I am of the personal opinion that why would you even address it? I mean, if you want to sort of incite the right behavior, why not just let Cortana ignore you and sort of, play dumb? But then again, I guess you could look at this the other way. She's not really an AI if she plays dumb. She should understand and recognize that and address it appropriately. What do you guys think?
So, I actually think it's probably good that she responds accordingly, because it'll most likely be juvenile young males being wise asses talking to the phone.
Like you.
Yeah, exactly. And there should be a consequence, And should we do some live for the sake of science? Like I have.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Please.
I don't know. I have no idea what she's gonna say. Let's. I'll keep it G-rated with some undertones here. Hey Cortana, make me feel like a man. I just searched for a friggin' video here. What else can I say? What should I say here without getting in trouble? Let's see. Cortana, bring sexy back.
Here is what I found.
It's just a Justin Timberlake. She's not that freaking smart or tough. I guess I don't want to get bad on video, but whatever.
Yeah, you have to research that one off air and let us know how it goes.
Yeah, my wife's gonna be like, "What the hell are you doing in there?"
There's a couple of different, you can ask her things like Cortana, tell me a joke, and she'll tell you some pretty funny stuff.
I mean, I'll do that. I'm sure that'll work.
Yeah.
Cortana, tell me a joke.
What do you get when you cross a joke with a rhetorical question?
Ba-dum-bum.
Well, Paul, are you guilty of talking dirty to Cortana?
No, I have an iPhone, so but same thing
Siri.
with Siri. Yeah, sure. I've tested out the limits of what Siri knows and does not know. I think as anyone has, regardless of how innocent Marco wants to play over there. But I think what's interesting though about this though is how far do you want to take it? I mean, right now they're I guess Cortana gets curt with you and kind of I don't know, kind of gets you off of that behavior. But what if they were to go even further, and if you did it too many times, she just stopped responding for a while. Obviously they can't send you a sexual harassment lawsuit or something like that. But I mean, what if they took it further? I mean, where do you stop with that stuff? I guess is the question.
I think that's like like the death warrant for Cortana. People just wouldn't use it if it started acting like that. If she got downright bitchy and stopped working, there'd be a problem, right?
So if there were like parental controls and it was a kid's phone, like what if it texted your mom if you did something bad? That'd be awesome.
See,
so Nathan in the chat wants to completely kill all the fun with a really serious question. So he's asking, You know, will they add a feature that can diffuse suicidal people legitimately? I feel like this happens more often than not, and it is mentioned in front of AI. I mean, Cortana receives abuse, so why wouldn't they receive threats? I feel like addressing the problem can stop future issues with human abuse from a person. That's way too deep for me, man. I don't even know what to say.
All right, well,
I mean, it would probably be great, but you might cross that line where it's always listening, and how much do you want it to be listening? And I know that's a situation where obviously you would want some sort of intervention. If your smartphone thought you were going to hurt yourself, it would be great if it did something to stop you, but I don't know, man. That's kind of scary to think about. I can't even process it completely right now live on this chat.
I think it's interesting. We got a lot of back and forth in the comments about that, and sort of in that vein. So, there's two schools of thought here. There's, do you program an AI to just be sort of agnostic to abuse and not address it, or do you do what Microsoft is doing right now and program an AI to address it in an appropriate way? In that appropriate way could do a number of different things. It could address a situation where somebody is, I don't know, theoretically suicidal, which is crazy to think of, that they'd talk to an AI and hope, to get some sort of lifeline that way. I don't think you can. I mean, there's a lot of other sort of legalities that go with that and other concerns that go with that. But even in the case of sexual abuse or sexual harassment, who's to say what the right response is? Who's to say how you address that appropriately under whose moral barometer, if you will, and who programs that? Well, these are some of the questions that come up in the chat, and it's an interesting discussion. I think personally, I think there are some general guidelines that we all can, sort of agree that makes sense to have her address appropriately in that case, and certainly in the case where somebody's really, off the rails, if you will. But it's an interesting discussion because I think the answer to the question is, well, Microsoft is. It's their product. They'll program it any way they want. But it's an interesting discussion. What do you think, Paul? Should AIs be left to their own devices, or should they be,
I think they need to become smarter before we even should worry about this stuff. I mean, how many times have you had them ask it to, look up a movie time or whatever, and it calls your friend Joe instead, So I think that's where the focus should be, and then we can get to this other stuff once it becomes truly artificially intelligent.
Yeah. Well, hey, if you talk to Elon Musk, programming truly powerful and capable AI with machine learning and all that good stuff is like summoning the demon in some cases. So that's another interesting evolution down the line, and certainly you can envision an AI so capable at machine learning and iteration and iterative learning along the way that they get a little bit too smart and a little bit too big for their britches, and suddenly you have issues. But I think we're a long ways from that.
Speaking of which, if you get a chance to see the movie Electric Dreams, watch that. This is kind of what it reminds me of.
I have the DVD.
It's an oldie, but it's a goodie.
Is it a good flick?
Oh my God, that's like one of the corniest '80s flicks ever. I have the DVD upstairs. I love that movie because it has like a bunch of Commodore 64s in it from back in the day. Oh, it's so bad, it's good. And so a little piece of trivia with that movie: the guy who voices the PC is from my hometown, from Rye, New York.
Wow. Yeah, can I get your autograph?
Did I just prove how much of a geek I am, or what, Paul?
Yeah, you did. Yes, you did. Hey, did you guys go see Deadpool yet?
Not yet, but I would
not.
love to.
I got to go see that flick. That's really supposedly a lot of fun, and it's a good use of time. And Marvel unabashedly going against the grain of everything you know about superheroes with that one. So kind of cool. Marco, let's move on to some goodies that we are preparing before we wrap this thing up, and talk about potential giveaways and things that you might be building for involved readers that hang out with us.
Yeah, so we're not quite ready to disclose everything, but if you if you've been on Hot Hardware, you know AMD recently made some announcements of new APUs and certain system configurations for playing games at certain different levels. And I reached out to them and said, hey, it would be great to give one or maybe more of these configurations back to readers. Would you guys be open to it? And the answer was yes. So AMD will most likely be sponsoring a giveaway soon. We do not have all the details, but there is a AMD-powered gaming rig in the future, perhaps more than one. We don't know yet. So stay tuned to Hot Hardware for the details. And while we're on the subject of AMD, there was some really cool news recently. An engineer from CERN kind of dropped a few details on a next-gen Zen-based CPU with 32 cores, and if you've been on top of that scene, you know AMD's Zen core is supposed to offer a 40% uplift in terms of instruction per clock performance over current architectures, and potentially compete, back with Intel at the high end. So that was an interesting piece of news. If you're hoping for AMD to kick some butt at the ultra high end, I don't know if I could say it's basically confirmed, but a 14-nanometer Zen-based AMD CPU with 32 physical cores and SMT, so 64 threads. Kind of nuts. I mean, obviously that's going to be an Opteron, but that's in the future.
I'm sharing that out now, and the way they do that,
8-channel memory too. Gobs of memory, 8-channel memory, so gobs of memory bandwidth too.
Yeah, DDR4. I'm actually sharing out that slide right now. So this is the slide that CERN engineer put up in a presentation, and he spoke to that 32 physical core count bullet point, and he said that they're actually implementing a pair of 16 core plants, if you will, 16 core modules, if you will, inside of a die with a high-speed interconnect between them, but effectively getting 32 cores into a single AM4 next generation Zen socket. And what's really interesting now, and we can stay on this just for a little bit longer now that we're talking about AMD. That company has been on the ropes for a while. I mean, let's just be honest. They've had certainly the financial challenges. They've had some market share challenges, and have been playing some catch up. But the stars seem to be aligning pretty quickly now for them to really get some momentum back, and Zen has the promise of that. And again, the proof is in the pudding. We'll believe it when we have silicon and systems in hand. But a 40% IPC, instructions per clock improvement is what AMD is claiming from Zen versus their previous generation Excavator core architecture that's out in the market now. So 40% IPC improvement, 14-nanometer FinFET process technology versus 28-nanometer where they were previously or are today. It's lining up to be a very potent product, at least on paper, and if AMD's claims are true, and I don't think they'd be that bold to just come out and say 40% IPC boost versus Excavator. I don't think they would just come out and say that if they hadn't already seen it, simulated it, and tested it to some degree. Zen due in Q4, early Q4, so we're told, like October, and could be something. Could be all that in a bag of potato chips, right?
Could be. We will we'll know soon. The rumor mill is all over the map with Zen. I've heard some good things and some mediocre things, but it's all rumor until that CPU lands. So we will see.
And the Radeon Technologies Group recently reorganized with a renewed focus on GPU architecture and letting that division sort of be a little bit. I mean, obviously, where they separated that out, they made a very conscious decision from a marketing and branding standpoint to separate that division out and give it more of its own, I guess, engineering license, if you will, for lack of better words, headed up by a very smart guy, a very well-respected guy in the industry, Raja Koduri. If I'm saying that name right, Marco, am I saying that name right? I hope I am.
Yep, that was right.
So in conjunction with that and some good things that they've done with Fiji, and then forward looking into HBM2 and now Zen, AMD could be stacking up for some comeback, which is good to see because we need it. We need that competitiveness in the marketplace.
Yeah, the graphic side is like the Rockstar group back together again. If Zen pulls it all together, and it's also, it's going to be the first time in a long time AMD and Intel are on this, not the same process node, because Intel's transistors are different than TSMC's or Global Foundries, but 14 nanometer for both for this year. So interesting stuff this year.
Yeah, if you want to compete, I mean, and let's face it, they can engineer efficient, more powerful, get more done per clock tick CPU cores all they want. But if at the end of the day, if you really want to compete bit for bit with Intel, you got to compete on a process standpoint as well. At some point, you can only mitigate that process disadvantage in so many ways. And so, yeah, to get to 14 nanometer is crucial, and that's cool. It's good to see that's going to be happening this year, and AMD hopefully on the comeback trail. And let's share this out one more time just to remember, folks, where we started from with this conversation. This is Marco's AMD. What did we call this? This is the
Star Wars Battlefront
rig, powered by an AMD Radeon 380X, and the handiwork of himself may be put to task again, and in a rig. Actually will be. We just don't know exactly what we're going to be building with it, right?
Yeah, and I love to build rigs, so if you're watching and you want me to build you a rig, buy all the stuff and send it to me, and I will gladly build you a super hot rig. My favorite thing in the world to do is to build PCs and scrape my knuckles and get all. I love it.
Well, yeah, I know, but you're gonna like open up a build shop now?
No, it's for awesome hot hardware readers that want an expert hand to assemble their PC. That's all.
I know. I'm just busting on you. It might be one of those careful what you wish for. Hey, Marco, there's like 20 boxes just showed up on your doorstep.
And yeah, that'll get done real quick.
So Dell and HP and everybody watching, go ahead and send them all to Marco. He'll put them together. He'll save a ton.
Well, hey, that just about wraps us up. Folks, stay tuned, though, to HotHardware.com for further details on that giveaway. That sweepstakes will be coming in the near future. We'll probably be announcing in the next week or so, I would think, tops. You can find us on the web at HotHardware.com, Facebook.com/HotHardware, Twitter.com/HotHardware, YouTube.com/HotHardwareVids, where we encourage you to subscribe and thumb up this video if you liked it. And you can find us on Google+, and we do have an Instagram, and oh my God, we're everywhere. We're kind of like the scourge of the internet. Gentlemen, anything to any parting words, any words of wisdom for the readers before we sign off?
Sure. Cortana, find hot hardware. Hey, look, the first thing that comes up is the post about sexual harassment.
Really? Perfect.
She's been listening.
Yes.
That's it. Her
Yeah,
ears are
we'll
burning.
have
Hey,
to have
everybody.
Marco test that off air, and then we can talk about it in the next podcast. See what we came up with.
Send us your Cortana sexual harassment suggestions, and we'll get right on that.
There you go.
Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Take care.